What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a great day. Today we're going to be looking at what the presidential election would have looked like if it was the Democratic nominee as Bernie Sanders with the Republican nominee as President Trump. I'm going to be your host, Poro, and it's going to be similar to what other election predictions are. Just as if Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump were the nominees. So that being said, we're going to be filling out these safe states for each candidate. Again, West Coast, pretty safe. These New England states are assumed safe. So, with that being said, definitely there would be a change in certain states just because of how they would perceive Bernie Sanders as a progressive, as a more left-leaning, more liberal, progressive. And so, with that being said, a lot of states would look at him differently. Certain voters would turn away from him. Certain voters would turn towards him. So it hurts and helps him in many places. So with that being said, this is our current map. 189 for Bernie Sanders, 126 for the president. And easily we'll be able to tell certain states. State of Virginia, 13 electoral votes will easily go into Bernie Sanders' column. Just because of the amount of progressive voters in that state, more liberal voters, the Washington suburbs that are growing ever more rapidly, and again, the state's turning more and more Democratic as every election goes by. So the state is soon probably going to be either a likely or if not a solid Democratic state. Again, not in 4-8 years, but in the coming years. So moving on to the West Coast again, Nevada and Colorado, two states that I can safely assume that would probably go to Bernie Sanders just because of the amount of Hispanic vote and the amount of minority vote in the state. Will do well in urban areas and will probably do well in suburban areas because of how he'll be able to reach and make inroads with, I feel like, with women, with the uneducated, people without a high school degree, and other voters. So that being said, the state of Texas, 38 electoral votes. The president needs this again. The current polls with Joe Biden and the president, it does show that this is a close race, with the president trailing in some polls by 1 or 2 points. And I feel like this is just the case because of the amount of people that Joe Biden can reach, the amount of people that he can appeal to, moderate base, a more progressive base. But this is also thanks to Bernie Sanders. If it weren't for him, if it weren't for Elizabeth Warren, the progressive side of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, he would have more trouble trying to appeal to them. So, with that being said, this race would be close. But for the time being, since again we saw under a progressive in 2018, Beto O'Rourke running against Ted Cruz, he didn't win. And I know you guys might think, well, it's not the same candidate. Ted Cruz is less likable than the president in certain aspects, but just for the time being, for hypothetical reasons, we're going to be giving this to the president. And moving on to Georgia, 16 electoral votes. A big African American population in this state, many urban areas, but again, is a Republican state, has voted Republican since, I think 1996, since Bill Clinton's second term, or first term in 1992. 16 electoral votes again. Haven't really seen the Democrats contest it with Joe Biden, but again, it would depend on Bernie Sanders' vice presidential pick to be Stacey Abrams. He could definitely do well in the state and even win it. For the time being, for hypothetical reasons, we're being giving this to the president. Now we move on to the Midwest, state of Minnesota. 10 electoral votes, the home state of Amy Klobuchar, who did run in 2020. And although this state is trending more and more Republican every election, it is a Democratic state. It has a lot of urban areas, St. Paul, Minneapolis. And although it does have a lot of rural areas where the president does do well, it is a Democratic state, as I said. And I feel like Bernie Sanders would do well with moderate voters in the state, do really well with progressive voters in the state, be able to do well with independents. So with that being said, I believe he would win this state. Now moving on to Pennsylvania, 20 electoral votes, big state. I feel that, again, this race would be close, not as close as or near what 2016 was, just because of the way Bernie Sanders might not be able to appeal to a lot of voters that a more moderate Democrat would be able to appeal, like a Joe Biden, like a um, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, just because of how there are a lot of so-called Reagan Democrats that are pro-life, pro-gun, pro-Second Amendment, etc. And so, but there are also a lot of progressive voters and a lot of independents in the state, as well as a lot of minority voters, a lot of black voters. So I definitely feel that Bernie Sanders could do well in this state. I feel like he would do well in this state just because of the amount of people that disapprove of the president in this state, along with many other states. So he would win that state, in my opinion. Now moving on to Ohio, 18 electoral votes. The president did very well in 2016 in this state, winning by 9 points. And again, I definitely feel that it's going to be very closer than that. Same thing goes with Iowa. 6 electoral votes. The race was won by around 9 points. And I feel it's going to be closer than that. But again, these two states he did very well because he did well with rural voters, blue-collar voters. In the case of Ohio, the southeast, and he did really well in suburban areas in Ohio. So with that being said, I do believe he'll win both Iowa and Ohio, putting him above 200 electoral votes. And moving on to Florida. Florida is a tricky case just because of the I-4 corridor, where there's a good amount of progressives, Democrats, liberals, moderates, independents, etc., Republicans. There's basically everyone in there. Now, that's what separates the North, which is the Panhandle, where there are more rural voters, and the South, where there's more Democratic voters, more of an urban area, Miami, Broward County, etc. So, personally, right now, just because again we don't know what the actual election would have looked like if it was Bernie Sanders against Donald Trump, because again it didn't happen. Personally, I do believe that Bernie Sanders would be able to do well in this I-4 corridor, being able to make inroads with more moderate voters, more independents, with more family members, people with a family, and people that are poor and in the middle class. So with that being said, I feel like he would be able to win that state. Moving on to North Carolina, 15 electoral votes, has a big 3 of education. Is a state that the president won by 3 points, and I don't really see a way for Bernie Sanders to really make inroads besides that youth vote in North Carolina. So, and that minority vote, also that. But I definitely do feel it'd be closer than 2016. But I do feel the president would be able to hang on to this. So, not blue, but red. I feel like he would be able to win this, putting him at 219. Moving on to the state of Michigan, many blue-collar workers, progressives, but also many rural voters that support the president, many pro-gun and pro-life Democrats. For the time being, hypothetically, because of the approval rating that the president has in Michigan, I feel like Bernie Sanders would be able to win the state. Same thing goes with Wisconsin. I feel like Bernie Sanders would be able to do in the state just because of the amount of progressive voters, the urban area in the state, many other things. So I believe 10 electoral votes would go in his column. And we on to New Hampshire. New Hampshire is bordering his home state, Vermont. He is very popular in the state, doing well with independents, progressives, and even some centrist Republicans. And although the president did do well in this state in 2016, I feel like Bernie Sanders' connection with these people is just going to be too great. His appeal to them is just going to be too much. I feel like he's going to be able to win this state. Main 1st Congressional District is pretty clear going to go for Bernie Sanders. The same thing goes with the 2nd Congressional District. Although it won't be so close, although it will be close, probably within 5 points. Again, this is Bernie Sanders' country. It's New England. He knows how to connect with these people. It's his type of people. He has his home state is only a few hundred miles away. So, again, state of Maine would go blue. Now moving on finally to the state of Arizona. State of Arizona, heavy Hispanic vote, heavy minority vote, a lot of progressives. The state is trending more and more Democratic, and although the president did win this in 2016 by around 3 points, 3, 4, 5 points, I feel like Bernie Sanders would be able to do very well with the youth vote, with that minority vote, with that with these urban areas like Phoenix, Maricopa County, etc. And I feel like the president wouldn't be able to make that appeal with more centrist Republicans, more of, those people that gave him a chance in 2016. I wanted a political outsider to win. So that being said, I will be giving actually the state to Bernie Sanders, putting him at 319 electoral votes to the president's 219 electoral votes. So with that being said, this was what our presidential election would look like if it was the Democratic nominee as Bernie Sanders and the President Donald Trump as the Republican nominee. 319 electoral votes for Bernie Sanders, 219 for the president. So yeah, let me guys know if you guys disagree or agree. Leave a like, comment, any suggestions, subscribe. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one.